Hello and welcome to the show. We are in week 11. We are going to get this thing started here. I'm so excited to have you guys as I usually am. We are going right into it. Give me 1 second here. Let me get all set up. All right. We have, as usual, I just want to make known before I break down some DFS conversation. I just wanted to let you guys know real quick. As far as leaving questions, make sure to write if it's a half PPR, PPR league, 10, 12 team league, how many people are in your leagues, and your question. If it's a 1v1, 2v2, no problems. We will answer the question. But before we get to those questions, I want to break down the slate and just basically game environments that are also not going to be helpful for daily fantasy, but also for your season long leagues. All right, let's get to it. I want to start talking about, actually, this is a big one here. I want to talk about some of the weather conditions. I was online today and they were talking about some of the wind forecast. The Green Bay at New York Giants game, 20 miles per hour sustained, 30 to 40 miles per hour gust. That's pretty impactful, especially if you have kickers in those leagues. And in these game environments, I'm going to mention about 4 of them. So just keep track of that. I think it's going to be a little bit harder to have these kickers go out there and give you anything 45 yards or more. Now, those are very game script dependent as far as kicks goes. So, things can happen at any other time, but would not surprise me. Certain teams that I'm going to mention here actually just go for it on 4th down and avoid getting a missed kick. And it's unfortunate because some of these teams have some valuable kickers, but again, you don't have to go out of your way to just drop them, but it's something to consider. Okay. So Green Bay at New York Giants. So if you have any of those kickers in that game, Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. So if you have Boswell or McPherson, 15, 20 sustained, 30 to 35 miles gust. The next game is Tampa Bay at Buffalo, 20 miles per hour, 35 miles per hour gust. And then the final game, Baltimore at Cleveland, 25 miles per hour winds with 30 to 35 miles gust. Now, when talking about winds, right? In these game environments, I know I mentioned kickers and being a little bit mindful that some of these kickers may not be able to go for it the way we're usually used to in some game environments. So for instance, like a Boswell or even a McPherson, that game environment is expecting a lot of wind gusts, but again, game script dependent, it may still need to happen, but just something to keep at the back of your head in case there is better options, maybe folks that are in domes today that you can take a look at. Also in these game environments, Green Bay at New York Giants, Cincinnati at Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay at Buffalo, Baltimore and Cleveland. Be very mindful of the pass game. So some of these guys like Jameis Winston in that Green Bay game, he's starting for the Giants this week. He's usually the type of guy who's going to throw the football regardless. So I wouldn't be too shocked if he goes against it all. But Green Bay seems like a type of team where LaFleur, I know that Matt LaFleur, the head coach and the play caller, the offensive play caller there, typically has a more run heavy type of offense there. And then they lean on the pass once they get the run game going. It would not surprise me if it's just a Josh Jacobs showing today, even though we know Jordan Love likes to throw the rock a lot as well. So just something to keep in mind. I wanted to make sure I started off the show with that information, especially for those playing daily fantasy when we're looking at game environments and games we want to stack in. And I'll talk a little bit about that right now. So the first quarterback I want to talk about, and it's actually a very interesting quarterback who's played pretty well, and his name is Jacoby Brissett. If you see here, it's just crazy. Week 6, week 7, week 9, week 10, just over 20 fantasy points per game. I know a lot of people were hoping Kyler Murray would have been that guy this year, and he wasn't, and now is on the IR and more than likely moving on from the Arizona Cardinals. But Jacoby Brissett stands out as a very strong play today. He is playing versus the San Francisco 49ers. Jacoby Brissett, why is he one of the biggest plays today? Not just because of the fantasy outputs he is doing week in and week out, but check this out. 4,900. is allowing you to get to so many types of different builds today, especially one, if you're playing Jacoby Brissett, you should be locking him in alongside Trey McBride, the tight end over there. There was a stat that I saw, I think it was this past week, in games where Jacoby Brissett has played with Trey McBride, he's pretty much averaging about 25 fantasy points per game, which is absolutely insane. And even at his price point, which I'll get to shortly, is going to be such a strong and popular play today. But more importantly, if you're going to play him, please play him with Jacoby Brissett. If you're starting Jacoby Brissett and you're stacking that game, I would start there. So Jacoby Brissett is a guy I want to touch on. The San Francisco 49ers have been pretty banged up, not just on the offensive side of the ball, but on the defensive side of the ball. They've lost so many good players. They are just at this point where in defensive efficiency and just their advanced metrics alone, they're at the bottom of the league right now. And this is just in this short period of time, as we've seen players kind of come off that defense little by little. Their defense has been going downhill as far as statistics go. So it's just a great game environment. And Brissett just seems like one of those plays that you just don't want to overthink it, especially at that price point. So Jacoby Brissett I'm going to do 2 lineups today. He is absolutely in one of my lineups today. Trey McBride is so hard to fade at that price point with that matchup. He's a guy. He's the guy today. The other guy I wanted to mention, who's going to be another interesting play today, is Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is playing the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, which seems to be just going up and down, just all over the place, really. And I really like their defensive coordinator over there, who seems, as far as scheme-wise, he's got something really over there. But as far as players goes, they're not receiving a lot of consistent guys on that defensive side of the ball, which makes Justin Herbert such a strong play today. Justin Herbert also has strong pass catchers, and this is usually where it gets really tough to stack players like Justin Herbert, because you want to find out who that guy is. We just got news that that Quentin Johnston will be active for today's game. Keenan Allen is obviously in there. Lad McConkey is one of the other guys, and Oronde Gadsden. If I am stacking any of these guys, one of the guys that I'm probably fading in this game is Keenan Allen. And I know that Keenan Allen is usually one of those like reliant players that you can play, but usually in these type of tournaments and more tournaments that I typically play in, even if it's single entry, if you're playing cash games, you're trying to look for that, that floor game. But mainly we're here chasing ceilings. We're out here trying to get the highest upside off of these players. Quentin Johnston can offer that. Lad McConkey offers that. And Oronde Gadsden, who has a really strong matchup today, also offers a little bit of that as well in this game environment. So those are a few of their pass catchers that I am really interested in. I know I was mentioning a little bit about the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are last in the NFL in sack rate over the past 5 games. The Jaguars have a 35.8 blitz rate over that span, which is 3rd, but are only 16th in pressure rate on those blitzes. Over that span, they are allowing 7.4 yards per pass attempt, which ranks 19th, with a 7.6% touchdown rate, which is 30th in the league. They have allowed a QB1 scorer in all 5 of those games. So if you're looking for another reason why Justin Herbert's a strong play today, those are some of the numbers for Justin Herbert. And now here's another guy I want to mention. This is going to be my 3rd guy I'm going to mention. Obviously, there's other strong plays, Josh Allen and such, those names right up there. But I want to mention a guy who I think is going to go under the radar today, and it's not going to have any type of interest from the field. And that's Sam Darnold. So JSN is typically the guy that everybody's going to chase today, and rightfully so. And speaking of Chase, Jamar Chase is going to be one of the other higher spent guys up there, which I'll talk about shortly. But JSN is going to be one of the more popular plays today. And in most builds, I fully expect in most of these builds, he is going to be just a standalone play. Most people are not going to be bringing it back with Sam Darnold just simply because of the price point, right? So Sam Darnold, you're seeing there 6,700, right? Here's some numbers for Sam Darnold, right? Darnold leads the NFL in yards per pass attempt, which is at 9.9, and yards per completion, which is at 14. Using play action, Darnold is averaging a league high of 13.9 yards per attempt and 20.2 yards per completions. Now, on the other side, the Rams defense, the Rams have allowed an 8.2 yards allowed on play action passes, which ranks 20th in the league. That's something I want to tackle here. The Rams have faced 3 offenses, which, in forms like these, when you get these kind of players, like we saw Mac Jones have a big game versus them, right? Jalen Hurts threw 3 passing touchdowns versus them as well. Like, this is typically one of those quarterbacks that none are going to really be heavy on. And when you get a guy like Sam Darnold, you typically a quarterback that's in the pocket most cases than not, and that's not scrambling everywhere. These are the type of quarterbacks that I want to stack 2 guys with. So I'm giving you guys a little insight on one of the lineups that I'm going to try to build today. And I'm going to do a Darnold stack with JSN and Rashid Shaheed. So if you heard me last week, I was hyping up Rashid Shaheed and his connections with Clint Kubiak and how this offense has been humming, but how Rashid Shaheed was having a phenomenal season last year with the New Orleans Saints and Clint Kubiak as the OC on that team. Last week didn't work out the way we wanted. We were seeing him featured, but if you watch that game just got away way too early, and there was no need for Darnold to be passing. If you played Darnold last week, you see it right there, 7.9 points. But look at that total of the result, 44-22. So in that game script environment, Darnold didn't need to drop back and pass the ball as much as they did. They just needed to get rid of it. It's just burning the clock, getting the game out the way, and off to the next one. So Sam Darnold is a play that I am highly, highly intrigued by today. And I love the stacking of JSN and Rashid Shaheed. And they're going to be playing the Rams, which I'm sure a lot of people are going to be looking at options as well for in this game. Puka Nacua is a guy that obviously stands out for some. You can go with the tight ends. That's a little bit trickier, right? But there are pieces on that team that you can attack. But in most cases, Puka Nacua is going to probably be a little more on the expensive side. But you don't have to always bring it back. I'll just point that out too. It's nice if they could push the game environment a little bit more, but with Puka Nacua's price, and we could just go right into the wide receiver, and I'll go back to running back. But with a guy like Puka Nacua, right? Puka Nacua's price $8,700. Now, Puka Nacua is one of the best fantasy wide receivers in the league, right? Fantasy wide receivers in the league, and one of the better wide receivers in the league as well in the NFL. But in terms of just points, right? When you look at 24, 25, 26, 27, 22, great price points, right? Great scoring outputs for a guy like Puka Nacua, consistency. Some have called him the CMC of wide receivers. He does it all. But at 8,700 in this type of tough matchup, which I do feel Seattle has been a really stingy defense. They've been really, really good. I think Puka Nacua can still get his numbers, and he could probably give you a good floor game, which is not bad for him. But when you're looking at prices, and again, we're chasing these upsides, we're going after these type of ceilings so that ultimately when you're ranked up in these leaderboards, you can go to the very top. You want that kind of game from Puka Nacua. And I don't know if today specifically is probably the day that I want to go bank on that. And that's mainly the type of game I'm looking for, is the 40 fantasy points, 50 fantasy point kind of game. Fully capable of doing it. But I don't think today's game environment is for that, which is why I'm not fully in love with playing Puka Nacua today, because I do love guys like Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is playing a banged up Pittsburgh defense. Jamar Chase, the last time he played this Pittsburgh defense, he dropped 41 fantasy points. 23 targets, and they were a little bit healthier too. So with a banged up defense, and I did mention earlier at the very start of the show, the type of environment we should be expecting with the wind gusts and all that. One of the beauties of Jamar Chase and how they run him in this offense, they like to give him a lot of those short throws too. They're not always just tucking it all the way to the, like a 40, 50-yard bomb. Like, that's not what they're typically doing with Jamar Chase. They like to get him in a yak position so he could take it to the house. I still expect that. Even in this type of game environments, Jamar Chase is so hard to fade in this type of matchup. I think Jamar Chase is one of the better high-priced dollar players today. I want to fit that kind of guy in my roster. So Jamar Chase, JSN I mentioned at 8,900. So out of those three, those are kind of the guys. I know we have Rashee Rice here as well who is interesting. The other guy that I did want to touch on a little bit was Justin Jefferson. If you have Justin Jefferson in your fantasy leagues today, Justin Jefferson should be a better play. We have been waiting for it, right? We get a little bit of a consistent stretch here, somewhat, right? 2 games. And then we're back to this position where we're like, where's wide receiver 1, Justin Jefferson? Well, Jeddah has a matchup versus the Bears today, which is really good. And if you know me by now and you watch these shows, you know that I'm a Bears fan, and we know how bad that secondary has been easy to attack. Also, if you like some narratives and you like some storylines, Jaquan Brisker just came out recently and pretty much making fun of Justin Jefferson. He said that there was a game that they played a while back ago where he made Justin Jefferson cry. I don't know. Justin Jefferson probably listens to that, which we all know he probably did by now, and probably expects the type of game versus this Bears defense where Jaquan Brisker will be on the field and probably go crazy on this Bears defense. So I expect hopefully a much better output from Justin Jefferson. It's long overdue. Maybe we get a 30 fantasy point kind of game. Again, Nahshon Wright, talking about revenge game, used to play for the Minnesota Vikings, has been really bad, and they'll find ways to possibly line him up with that guy there. So Justin Jefferson was a name I wanted to mention. I know I had a few other wide receiver names. And before I get to one, because there's a sneaky guy that I just want to mention and throw out there. Before I get to it, I see some comments coming in. Thank you guys so much. Please feel free, once again, 10, 12 team, 14 team, whatever it is, please just make sure to give me that detailed information on the comments below and letting me know how many teams are in that league as well. I'm going to get right to those questions shortly, and I'm just finishing and rounding this up. So we have a few guys out. One of the reasons why Trey McBride is a popular play today at the tight end position is because Marvin Harrison is out, not just because of the numbers that he's putting. You know, obviously he's been strong. He's been one of the best tight ends in fantasy football, but having no Marvin Harrison on the other side of this game is a big deal because this offense is so central focus on just some of these players. So this is where we get to this next conversation, and I want to definitely walk you guys through that. We have guys like Greg Dortch. We have guys like Michael Wilson. Those are going to be two of the more popular plays because they're down here, down below, right? We have $3,800, Michael Wilson. If you look at these numbers are not bad at all. Michael Wilson played at Stanford, really talented player, just got hurt a lot, really talented player. It's nice to see him have a little bit more of a consistency and maybe has a more solidified role with today's game, especially with no Marvin Harrison Jr. So I expect Jacoby Brissett to get him involved often. And so Michael Wilson's going to be a very popular play. Greg Dortch is the other guy. Greg Dortch is, I believe, what is he, 3,400? If not, I will right here, 3,300. Greg Dortch is another popular player. This is a PPR guy right away. So if you guys have a half PPR team, unless this man scores a touchdown, it's going to be very difficult for him to give you one of those kind of outings that you're probably looking for, or to just bank on it. Truly, I would absolutely pick Michael Wilson over Greg Dortch when having that 1v1 conversation. So those are the two names that I wanted to mention, right? Those are the obvious guys that people are literally leaning on to today just to get value and just to add on to some of these Jacoby Brissett stacks. Now, there's a guy that no one is talking about. And there was this player, played at the University of Colorado with Deion Sanders, was with Shedeur Sanders, Xavier Weaver. And if you watch some of the preseason, if you're a Arizona Cardinals fans, you've heard this name before. Xavier Weaver had really, really strong college production. He was a really good player in college. Really liked him. I think he was held back a little bit, obviously, by some of what Shedeur Sanders' limitations were as a quarterback. But that's another conversation for another day. Very talented player. 3,000. When someone looks right away here, they're just going to see one target and be like, why am I clicking this guy? There's no reason to click this guy. Well, this guy in the preseason was putting up numbers. One of the other reasons why this guy was a really strong thought process. I had this conversation with y'all about Bam Knight and feeling that when this whole conversation came out, once James Conner went down and we had the D McCardle and is it so-and-so, or is it Bam Knight, or is it Michael Carter? And I was really leaning on to Bam Knight. There was a lot of information that I was doing research on this summer, and Arizona Cardinals were one of the teams that I did a deep dive in when I was doing best ball teams. And a lot of those names like Bam Knight kept coming up as far as just, beat writers talking about, and just Arizona Cardinals as a organization really, really like. Well, Xavier Weaver is one of those other guys. He was there last year, had a few little games that kind of he popped as well. But Xavier Weaver is the guy I think stands out today. I took his prop right now, currently, if you want to take it, it's at 10.5 receiving yards. Risky play, right? But they only have 3 healthy, active wide receivers, and he is going to be their third guy. And if he has all this hype that he had this offseason, I think he's going to really stand out today. No one's talking about. Absolutely no one's talking about. No one's playing him. I'm going to be playing Xavier Weaver today. I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to take the shot, because our goal at the end of this is to reach the very top of the leaderboard. And I think Xavier Weaver could be one of those plays today. Again, if you don't feel risky enough to kind of play him in daily fantasy, that's cool. Take his prop line, because I think 10.5 receiving yards is way too low. Way too low. So Xavier Weaver, I just wanted to give him a little bit of hype and talk about him. And, it's my little sneaky DFS play for the day. While everybody's chasing Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch, who aren't bad plays at all, especially given their price point, I like the leverage in Xavier Weaver, who I think might stand out a little bit more today. I think it's very important to also mention that Xavier Weaver played a lot with Jacoby Brissett in the preseason. When Kyler wasn't playing, he was part of that second offensive team that would go out there with Jacoby Brissett. So there's a little bit of a connection there too that should stand out. All right, I spoke too much on that. Wide receiver, again, I'm going to get right to the questions, y'all. I'm going to go real quick through these running backs. I'm just going to name them. CMC. CMC is a great play today. I think this is a bit of a shootout with Arizona. I mentioned this is a great bring back. CMC, I love CMC today. And, obviously you just know what he's capable of doing as a wide receiver, as a running back. And he's a very strong PPR player at 9K, but he's going to get the work, as we hope, right inside the 5. So when he gets those touchdowns, it makes these salary prices feel strong. Don't really need to get on Bijan. You already know how good Bijan is. Carolina's run defense hasn't looked as strong. Josh Jacobs is a great play today if we're thinking about that game environment. Overall, if it's just a lot of wins, I can see Matt LaFleur he needs to get this offense going. This offense has been playing really bad. Meanwhile, that defense has been playing really, really well. They need this offense going. And I think that one of the best ways to get this offense going is by leaning in on their big price player that they paid a lot of money to when he was a free agent. Josh Jacobs going to be a big part of that, in my opinion, for tonight's game. New York Giants have not been a good run defense. James Cook, flop lag, if you ever heard of that term. Bad play last week. I had a really, really strong team last week, doing really well for me. And it was really positioned well to do, to really have a nice reward at the end of it. But I have pivoted from Devon Achane and try doing the leverage move on James Cook. This is why we play daily fantasy. You're going to take some risks. Sometimes they're going to work so well for you, and sometimes they're going to burn you. And unfortunately, that's what's the case. I think James Cook has a better game today. We're hearing that Keon Coleman, if you have him, bench him. He is inactive today. He missed a practice, and coach's decision decided to make him a healthy scratch for tonight's game. So we're going to try to be figuring out, is it Khalil Shakir? We also have Dalton Kincaid, who's been having a really good season. He would have been a phenomenal play today, also out due to an injury. So while folks are trying to figure out, is it Gabe Davis, who might be back today? We're hearing he's going to be active today. Is it Mecole Hardman, who just got called up? Is it Dawson Knox? Is it, you're just going to go down this list and you're going to be trying to figure it out. I think sometimes the best way to do is either play Josh Allen alone and hope that goes that way, or with this game environment and lean into that because of the win and just think this is just a James Cook game. They're going to lean heavy on the run. I really, really like James Cook today. I think Rico Dowdle is a phenomenal play. Played him last week. He didn't give you the 30 fantasy point output that you wanted. Gave you 15, 16 fantasy points. I think today's the day that he gives you that bigger matchup against Atlanta. This is a big game. Division rivals. Very important. That stuff matters. Jalen Warren's in a really good matchup versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Don't sleep on that. That's also big, especially if you're playing in that game environment as well. Run game, heavy run game to lean on. Chase Brown is one name. I have one more name to mention. Chase Brown, great play today. I believe P. Ryan, if I'm not mistaken, I'm almost sure he is officially out. And if so, Chase Brown had 96% of the run snaps last week, meaning it was just a whole backfield to himself. Chase Brown last year was just so much fun to have when you knew he had the whole entire backfield to himself. Don't need to really mention much. Not worried about the matchup because Chase Brown can also operate in the backfield as a pass catcher as well. Aaron Jones is a sneaky play. I do like a lot of these Minnesota players versus the Chicago Bears defense. I think that this game has a very weird way of going. This defense is going to play really tough on Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams' strengths are not really in these type of matchups. Now, hopefully he has a much better game as a Bears fan, and I expect them to have a strong game, but I would not be surprised if Ben Johnson leaned heavy today on the run. So you're going to be seeing a lot of Swift and a lot of Manungai, and maybe that opens up a little bit of the passing game to get him some of the easy shots that he has been taking. But Aaron Jones has been playing. I mean, he came back a few weeks ago, but if you're seeing the numbers, they're slowly but surely increasing. But it's really cool to see a guy at this age still show how tough he is and how much juice he still has left. Aaron Jones is a really good play for today versus this Bears defense. Tight end, don't need to go deep into that. Mentioned Trey McBride. Dawson Knox is an option today. You know, it's a really slim picking. I think it's really the guys you want to lean in. Rondé Gatson has a really good matchup. I think Kyle Pitts Jr. also has a strong matchup. And if you want to get funny down here below, and I say funny because I think they're cheap enough to play, guys like Pat Freiermuth at 3,200, Jonnu Smith at 2,900. Cincinnati Bengals are not really good at defending the tight end position. If you needed a guy, good luck. I really hope you get the right one. Pat Freiermuth seems like the kind of guy you want to lean on, but also we know that Arthur Smith loves himself some Jonnu Smith, and I think Jonnu Smith is a strong play today too. It's in Pittsburgh, so have fun with that. I think if I had to give you a lean, I may lean Jonnu Smith only because of the savings at 2,900, and I think that usually stands out in most cases than not. As far as that, so we got quarterback, running back, wide receivers, tight end, defenses. We'll keep it very simple, and I'm going to get to your questions right now. You know, you got the Ravens at the top versus a Cleveland. If the weather conditions also in this case as well, Ravens just seem like too good to pay up for. So that's also an option. I really think the Chargers defense is very interesting today. Jacksonville Jaguars, you have Brian Thomas Jr., who is inactive. Make sure you guys are benching him today. So their guys are Jacoby Myers, who I think is a very sneaky play as well today. I think if you have Jacoby Myers, I would be starting him. Parker Washington there. And then obviously we know the news about Travis Hunter, who is on the IR. So you got the Chargers, you got the Ravens up on top, and a lot of people are going to be playing them. I don't hate it. They're very cheap, and they're going to allow you to fit more things on your teams. Just be very cognizant of that. Don't just chase the 20 fantasy point outing. I think one of the big stories today is that Jeffrey Simmons is back. So Jeffrey Simmons being back in that middle to plug as a D tackle for the Tennessee Titans is strong for the run game to defend. So there's things there that can help a little bit and allow this game to stay very just low scoring, and the Titan defense come out strong and give you maybe enough to have your lineup really shoot up. All right, that is Daily Fantasy Talks. Let's get right into the questions. Appreciate you guys all for hanging on here. We have Crispy, what up, man? Appreciate you hopping on. John Gomez, always appreciate you hopping on, brother. Pick one PPR, Ricky Pearsall, Quentin Johnston, Parker Washington. Man, I love Ricky Pearsall because of the matchup. I really do. It's just his first game back. So, you know, I tend to be a little mindful of that, but I do like him. And if you're going to do anything, I have props on him for sure today. But I'm going to give you the lean on Quentin Johnston. I just think that matchup is really good versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, like I was mentioning. But honestly, Ricky Pearsall, you can't go wrong with that either. I don't hate it, especially in PPR. So honestly, brother, if you want to lean Ricky, I don't hate it. I think it's a really smart move. All right, you got the next question. Michael Wilson, Quentin Johnston, or Sutton. Man, let's go Cortland Sutton here. If you want this game to shoot out versus the Kansas City Chiefs, who the Denver Broncos are going to be playing, if I'm not mistaken, I'm almost sure. Yes. So if you want that game environment to stay put, I think Cortland Sutton is going to be the real reason why they stay close. Is Gabe Davis a DFS option? He is if you're 115, but if you're doing like one or two lineups, I mean, you know, it's really up to you. I'm playing an Xavier Weaver lineup, and I'm playing two lineups, so I'm a bit crazy. But if you're playing 150 lineups like most people do when they do these type of things, Gabe Davis, probably a little sprinkle him, doesn't matter. It's fun to see him back, especially with his connection with Josh Allen. So I don't hate that at all if you want to play him in DFS, especially if he is at the bare minimum, right? Let me just double check that. He should be 3K flat. It would not. If he is no, he's 3,500. Wow, yeah, that's a little interesting. I don't know, man. I would think a little bit harder on that just because you got guys like Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch and such around there. But again, if you have Josh Allen, that's probably the best way to say it. Do not play him as a standalone play. Make sure if you're playing him alongside Josh Allen in a stat game versus just playing him as a one-off. I think that's a little bit more riskier, but I don't hate it. I really don't. I think that might be a fun way to bring him in back. I love the narrative. I'm playing Jefferson in all my DFS lineups. All right, that's what's up. Cool, man. Tyrell Shavers, Xavier, we were full PPR, 12%. My God, this is a 3-4 wide receiver league starting. If you're going down to these guys, man, that is tough. Or you must have a lot of injuries. But if you're the Buffalo Bills like Shavers, they do like him a lot, but again, the way they just spread this ball around is so hard to really lean in on that. I'm gonna just lean in on Xavier Weaver, and maybe it's just a lot of the hype that I've been giving him, but they don't have many active wide receivers, and there is a rapport, and this offense is usually very central. It's a very focused offense on just a few players. I think Xavier Weaver is one of those guys. If you really have to go down to those two guys, I say lean on Xavier Weaver, and good luck, my man. Good luck. All right, George, am I not thinking about starting Harvey over Henry PPR? Changed my mind. I like RJ Harvey a ton this week. Derrick Henry is tough. Cleveland's run defense is, you got Seattle, you have New England, and you have Cleveland. Seattle, New England, and Cleveland are like three of the top rushing defenses in the league. I just think that Derrick Henry is very game script dependent as well. And if this game just kind of gets out of hand, because I expect Lamar being the reason why they win this game, I see them taking out Derrick Henry and kind of just going with a guy like Keaton Mitchell. But again, so hard to bench a Derrick Henry. But if there is a year you can bench him, it's this year. I do love RJ Harvey. Now, let's keep in mind, it's Sean Payton. Sean Payton can go out there and get Tyler Bidet or Beatty, whatever we call him, his last name, or Jaleel McLaughlin, and really throw things off. But I think they're really forced to play in RJ Harvey. And in a PPR league, it's important because RJ Harvey is a pass catcher as well. So I like him. I like him a lot. I say go Harvey over Derrick Henry. All that to say that, right? We have G-Fix today. Monangai or Swift today? Man, that's going to be the question of the year, right? Monangai is a Swift. Ben Johnson has mentioned he's going to go with the hot hand approach. I think you just go Swift in this one. Swift stands out, and I still think he has a lot of those explosive plays that plays a big part. And if it's PPR, I would lean Swift as well, but it's not like a massive gap here for sure. George back. Also could bench McMillan and put Henry or Vidal at flex. Tough choices, man, for sure. Yeah, very tough choices. But I'm okay with that RJ Harvey over Derrick Henry. But if you feel good about Derrick Henry, then yeah, I wouldn't mind sliding him to your flex. I like McMillan. You know, it's going to be a little bit of a tougher defense versus Atlanta as far as their secondary goes, and his matchup. But, you know, it's so hard, man, leaning on Bryce Young right now. Vidal is in a really good spot to the Chargers. I would probably lean Vidal out of those three if you had to pick one, for sure. And then Andrew mentioned injuries have devastating. It's a 3 wide receiver, 2 flex. Woo! Yeah. Good luck, man. I really hope it's Xavier Weaver, and I'm playing him in DFS, and I hope that takes me to the leaderboard as well as get you a win. Thank you all so much for hopping on the show. Thank you guys for hanging on there. At the bottom, I have my Instagram, TikTok accounts. I'll be posting a little bit more stuff this week. We're getting towards the tail end of the season. I'll be doing best ball stuff this off season as well. So just stay close to that information. I'll be getting and putting out more. Good luck, everybody, with your matchups today and in daily fantasy. I hope to see you guys all at the top. Take care. Peace.